This is for accuracy and note taking.
Yeah, so that we can, everybody's ramblings is now recorded, so we don't all have to like meticulously write them down.
Okay, 6 o'clock. Call this meeting to order.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's do it. Sir, will you do our roll call?
Will do. Chair Guzman,
Present?
Vice Chair Yip,
Here.
Committee Member Gore,
Present.
Committee Member Hollenbeck is absent. Committee Member McCauley. Here. And Committee Member Hingy.
Yeah.
All right. Most are accounted for, Chair.
Thank you. We want to review the agenda.
I don't just want to see if other folks had any changes to the agenda tonight.
Well, it's not detailed, so you mentioned that it's recorded so that
Correct.
anyone who wants to go further into our comments can look at them.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And then as far as the agenda, staff has 2 items to discuss with the committee members tonight, so we'll get to it on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
Public comment.
Public comment acknowledging Anthony Montez from the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. Somebody.
Hi, guys. Good seeing you. My name is Anthony Montes. I'm with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. It's good to see you. Happy New Year. I wanted to share with you our latest campaign opposing Highway 101 widening and 280 as well. Focus on 101. 101, yeah. We are in the middle of collecting petitions from San Mateo County residents to essentially show decision makers and leaders in the county that is not an actual solution for managing the congestion that we're all experiencing on the peninsula. And we would love to find a way to get your endorsement, or at least your own individual capacity, be able to sign the petition in support of the opposition to the widening. And yeah, if you want to find ways that you can get involved in your own personal capacity as well, I encourage you to contact me, or I'll follow up with an email as well. Separately, Bike to Wherever Days is already coming up in May. Yeah, so our team is scrambling, not scrambling. We're looking at that timeline, and each day goes by, it's all of a sudden it's April and we have a bunch of different events and programming to do. So if you want to get involved in some way, last year we usually had I don't know if you remember Jules. He was a bike advocate in South City. He usually did our Energizer station. So we're actually going to have a need. So if you have spare time during the day, maybe you don't have to be at work or you have flexible work hours, we would love for someone from the BPAC to have an Energizer station. You can organize it however you'd like. You can organize it as an SBBC volunteer. If the BPAC is interested in partnering with SBBC to have like a joint BPAC SBBC Energizer station, please let me know if you want to do that, and you can coordinate directly with me, and we can figure something out so that we have some kind of presence. If you don't know what an Energizer station is, it's usually a location within community, high traffic, usually where a lot of bikes come through, and you'll have the ability to hand out free shirts, hand out free goodies that SVBC will supply. And we can supply you with everything that you need. It's just more a matter of, do you have time? Maybe 4 or 5 hours, morning of, afternoon of, to do the station. So if you do have that time, let me know. I'll follow up again with this ask, and I would appreciate it. Love to be able to work with the BPAC on this. And that concludes my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And then as of 5 p.m. today, staff did not receive any voicemails or emails related to anything on the agenda.
Great. Ready for the consent calendar?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Do everyone have a chance to review the minutes? Any? Anything?
Comments,
Changes?
questions,
corrections?
changes on our regular meeting minutes from November?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November meeting.
Okay,
I'll say,
A second.
let's take a roll call on that one. Go. On the minutes, Chair Guzman,
yes.
Vice Chair you.
I have to refrain. I was absent.
Oh, you were absent, sorry. Committee member Gore, he seconded too, yes. Committee member Hollenbeck is absent, committee member McCauley,
Aye.
committee member Hingy.
Aye.
Meeting minutes are approved and submitted.
Okay, you guys ready for administrative business?
Please.
We have a guest. Hello.
Hello. So, just the background, our lieutenant now. Captain Pinnell has moved up and moved on, so I wanted to introduce you to Sergeant.
Sergeant Portolan. First name is Jim. Please don't call me Sergeant Portolan. Yeah, so I'm the traffic supervisor for all our motor units and parking enforcement. And so now that Tony has moved on, I'm taking over that amongst a bunch of other
Oh, joy.
tasks. Yeah, so.
It's all the things, just scrolls all.
To. So BPAC members, if you've looked at your packets, it's listed in there, so we'll take any specific questions on items that you see there. Just like scroll through.
Okay.
Anything?
Yeah.
Tell us whatever you want. But
Does anybody have any questions specific to any of the particular cases? So this is my first time doing the stats for the quarter. We are a reduction in 25%, which I thought was pretty good. No fatalities, which was excellent.
So let me read them and then we can pause there.
Okay.
Good, so October 3rd, there was a vehicle versus pedestrian collision at Grand and Spruce. October 10th, there was a vehicle versus bicycle collision on El Camino Real and Hickey. October 17th, there was a vehicle and bicycle collision, Linden First Lane. October 18th, there was a vehicle versus pedestrian collision on Grand and Linden. October 23rd, there was a vehicle versus pedestrian collision on Chestnut and Grand.
so, some of them say whose fault it was clearly spelled out, and some of them don't. Would that be okay to add every time, like,
Yeah, which one did I?
like
not-
he just said the 23rd, I don't see where it says who was.
Oh, you're right. I did not put that in there. Well, give me 1 second. Let me read it and I'll try to remember. It was the vehicle's fault.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
I mean, you're the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, but I can't put that in every time.
You did a great job. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So November 3rd, there was a vehicle versus pedestrian collision on Evergreen Drive and Baywood Avenue. November 4th, vehicle and pedestrian collision, Birch Avenue and Holly Avenue. November 5th, vehicle versus bicycle collision on South Airport Boulevard at Wonder Color Lane. November 17th, vehicle and pedestrian collision at El Camino Real at Country Club Drive. Okay.
So close to your.
And then, November 20th, there was a vehicle and pedestrian collision on Grand and Spruce again. Yeah. November 29th, for Thanksgiving, we got a vehicle and bicycle collision at El Camino and Ponderosa. December 4th, there's a
Things
vehicle.
are stretched out. We need a bicycle lane up over there.
Like we should have stretched out our bike lane there, right? So. December 4th, vehicle and pedestrian collision at Grand Avenue at Maple.
On that one, the summer, at the bottom, the weather was clear and it occurred during evening hours. But it was at 10:52 a.m. Just a technical thing.
Was it PM instead?
Probably, no, I think 10:52 a.m. is correct.
Okay.
December 12th, a vehicle and pedestrian collision on West Orange Avenue and Bartle Avenue. Christmas Eve, December 24th, it's a vehicle and an e-scooter collision on Cypress and Miller. Don't have many of those. I'm glad we took it. And then last one was December 29th, vehicle and an e-bicycle. Grand and Chestnut.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one too. We have, at the last sentence there, the failure to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk, but I was an e-bicyclist, not a pedestrian.
So this seems to just continue the pattern that we have seen over the last few reports. So there's two major areas over here and El Camino. And although the pedestrians and bicyclists were less involved this time, there was still some instances where their safety, where they didn't consider, how do I put this, where they were at fault. So I still would advocate for an education program for everyone who is on our roads. I mean, obviously the drivers need it, because in this report, these drivers are really bad, especially at crosswalks.
Right.
And we should look at what we could do to improve the safety for pedestrians at crosswalks, which is really concerning. But also the bicyclists and the pedestrians, I think, would benefit from a program of, you know, what does it mean? What should I do when I'm on the road? Because I know California has changed some laws as far as pedestrians concerned. And I think people are confused as to who has the right of way.
How will the new laws affect tagging onto her, the new?
Which new laws are you referring to?
Isn't there the law where it's okay for pedestrians
For
to
the
cross?
jaywalking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, thank you. Yeah, there used to be the jaywalking between two controlled intersections. We can no longer stop people for doing that. So it's more of a change for us. So people can still jaywalk. We just can't stop and detain them
But
unless
they
they're
just can't-
causing a collision.
They can't go when a car's like
No, they can't just step out in front of, right.
coming close to them. They must take some care on their own, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
And then it would come down to, so let's say there was a collision where somebody did that. And it would, determining that fault would be depend on statements and witnesses, because if a pedestrian looked and there's a car way down the street and they start to cross and the car has plenty of time to see the pedestrian and slow down, then it would be the driver's fault.
right.
But you're right, if somebody just starts out in front of the road, in fact, I think one of them is, we had a child who ran across the street, ran across Grand and ran into a car. That would be the pedestrian's fault. So it would be
And
the
that's a-
education on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the bicyclists, I mean, at least 2 or 3 times, almost been hit by bicyclists. They're gone the wrong way, up a one-way street or something like that.
Or they're on the sidewalk.
Or, yeah,
In fact, one of the collisions of bicycles at fault came off of the sidewalk into the crosswalk as the vehicle had already established position, which was one of the hit and run with the bicyclist. So yeah, it's a combination of, I would say the majority of the time you're gonna see where the driver has made
Yeah.
the error. But you're right, the education of people riding bicycles and scooters. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a lot of young people are getting these electronic and motor scooters that go 25, 30, 35 miles per hour. And we're seeing kids driving these things and they have no idea, they don't have a driver's license. There's no education program for them. So, yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot more, unfortunately, of those types of collisions.
I hope we can reduce them. I mean, especially at the crosswalk, if we can deal with maybe more of the high visibility crosswalks and
The new daylighting
reducing
thing.
the distance people travel from one side to the other. I think that might.
The new daylighting thing, right? That's supposed to do with crosswalks and corners?
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
Are
yeah,
you
that's one
guys-
of the new laws this year is that daylighting is pretty much mandatory all of California, which
So,
requires municipalities to red tip like, or red curb like that first, basically a car
it's supposed
length.
to be 20 feet, I thought.
Yeah, it's basically a car length space at either side of any established crosswalk.
So.
do you know what
how's
the
that-
city has decided if they're going to, because you don't have to, once the law's in effect, you don't necessarily have to have them read. Do you know if the city has decided, because in our, do you guys know what the TAC meeting is, the traffic?
Oh, yeah, they're.
Okay,
they're-
okay,
yeah.
sorry. So in our last meeting, that topic came up. And they said it was like 800 and some intersections that they would have to paint.
Yeah.
And so I was just curious if you had any conversations with the city as far as what are they going forward with painting?
Multiply that by 4,
Right.
the
Yes.
length of each intersection.
And you necessarily wouldn't need to do all 4. You would want to do the ones on the approach, so the directions,
Criteria.
yeah. But still, it's still a lot of paint.
It's a lot.
But it
Yeah.
wasn't, it's not required that it's painted. I mean.
No, from my
I remember
understanding.
when I learned to drive, you weren't supposed to park that close to it, right? So what are you guys gonna do to implement it? No paint, I mean, you're in parking.
So that's not my, that's a
Yeah.
city's got to let me know what they're going to do.
Oh, so if your parking enforcement people are out and they see a car parked less than 20 feet from a crosswalk, they're not gonna.
So
do
this
anything?
year, we aren't allowed to cite. So this year, all we can do is warn. Anybody in California can only warn.
So will you be warning or?
If we see the person out there, yes. The reality is I'm shorthanded. And for me my people aren't gonna be able to go knock on doors, run registrations. There's too much going on. But what we've done is we've created like a flyer.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we've created a flyer, so once I kind of get a little bit more information from the city as the direction they want to go, that is our next process for this next quarter, is to start having those in our parking enforcement vehicles.
Yeah.
And so as they are doing their, street sweeping, flip flop, they call it, they're gonna hit those corners and start passing out flyers for education.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, I think that was just a tag, so we're still in discussion on what to do. So to comply with that state law, it's either we, put down red paint, make the curb red, or we have to put up a sign that says no parking.
Okay.
Right, so either way,
Something's
gotta go up,
That's a lot of.
exactly, that's a lot of red paint or a post saying you can't park, but like in these, like 20 feet. So.
But it's every corner.
It's every corner, exactly. So that's, we're also looking at other cities and how they're dealing with this. It's hard to look at San Francisco because they have like Public Works that's dedicated to doing all of this.
Yes.
So it's a much different ballgame for us, so it's still in discussions and we'll, as we've progressed with that discussion, we'll update you and figure out and let you know what the city decides.
I live across from the school, so it makes me very anxious when people are
Oh,
all
yeah.
parked around the crosswalk and the
Which
kids
school?
can't cross. El Camino,
Camino?
at least they're taller.
Kids are taller, yeah.
But it's still nerve-wracking the way they,
I'm following. I'm reading the bill right now. I don't think it requires. It lets the jurisdictions decide if it wants to sign it or paint it, but you're not required to in order
Do
to
either?
enforce it.
I don't think you're required.
Yeah, you're
to
not.
Either.
The local authority can decide, but it's the laws, you can't park within a certain number of feet and it depends on which part of the intersection you're at, between 15 and 20 feet. I was just curious, how will we let people know that this law is in effect?
The mayor's.
Yeah, it comes into effect
It is
in
going on.
2025.
Yes, so I know it's gone out already on our social media platform and then the flyers. So that's
On the cars, and you're gonna be proactively putting flyers on cars.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And in anything like that, I know that Public Works, tries to put out, same thing that, the sergeant has, like, information materials, and we have our interns work on them. But for, if anything like that needs to be communicated to the public, we'll use like our social media and like kind of like the mass emails from like the mayor's, weekly like newsletter, things like that. So that's one way we can get the word out.
And probably from what I've seen in the past is that even in 2025, as we start to issue citations, we have the ability to issue warning citations. So it's kind of another way to start educating people. And since I have control of, I can dismiss parking citations for people, so we can issue citations and somebody calls us, I don't understand, I can provide them a flyer, I can explain the new law, and I can dismiss that citation at one time or something, but so it won't be like a slam, it's the 2025 comes in and everybody's getting littered with citations. There's still gonna be an education program to it.
Yep.
The questions on the quarterly?
Yeah, I have,
Yes.
At least two times. I missed the last meeting when, I don't know if it was you or if it was you that presented the citation statistic. I requested this, so I just wanted to thank you for including the citation statistics. The numbers have consistently been either going up or consistently relatively high, and I really like that. I think I asked if it was possible to have like information on where you're enforcing and where generally where are the citations happening, because I think there are obviously areas of the city that have larger problems because that's where most of the speeders or people are, there's more traffic there. So with more traffic, but I think it's a problem that's citywide. And I think a lot of residents.
Well, I can,
A visual map of where all the things.
It doesn't have to be a
Well, what I
map,
could
just like a
do is-
descriptor of like.
yeah, I have,
Where did speeding citations happen?
sure, I actually have sorry, you know our care program that we have? You haven't heard, okay, so we have a care program where residents or business owners can call the police department and say, hey, we have an issue at our stop sign, or people are speeding, yada, yada. And so then every month, I assign our patrol teams with those certain complaint areas.
Oh, okay.
And then the patrol officers are required to, calls pending, required to go out 1 hour in the morning during rush hour, 1 hour in the afternoon when people are coming back to hit those areas. And then I collect the data. So what I can do is print out, when I come back, I can print out those couple of months of stats and show you what intersections and what streets we were working and how many citations I got at that location. So I can do that.
Yeah, I'm curious because if people get used to all the enforcement's only happening on El Camino, then in the residential neighborhoods.
So all the care stuff is in residential neighborhoods.
Okay,
The El Camino, South Spruce, things where patrol cars would have a difficult time maneuvering. I have my motor officers.
okay.
And we have been not as proactive because most of mine are out. So I am, the one that was injured a year or so ago is now back and now getting back into training. And I'm hoping to have her ready to go in a couple of weeks. We just had a switch of shifts, so I've now got 3. So I'm hoping by the end of February, I'll have 3 active motor officers and our stats will be able to go up. Not that I want to give tickets, but
Is the care form separate from South City? Is it I help her, what, for South City,
Engage.
Engage, I help us Daly City.
Engage South City.
Yeah, Engage South City. Is that
I
separate?
think it's separate.
If I were to submit like a complaint on Engage South City,
You get those?
would,
I don't.
oh, really?
I don't.
We just, things that make it onto like the TAC, right? Like those complaints from residents. Then Sergeant is all usually on those calls, and then that's where we're like, hey, we might need to have these streets
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z on the care program.
So you guys look at all the complaints on,
It's supposed to funnel up into like TAC, like all of those, like Engage SSF, like complaints,
from.
So I will get emails from the, what's the community TAC? There's our TAC, there's also community one where people can send email to the same group, but it's on. But we'll get email complaints and certain things where they'll fill out their TAC form complaint. And I'll see it, but usually it's requesting like speed bumps or something like that I don't have any say in. But yeah, I don't get anything.
If for speeding, what about for parking? Like, cause there is an option to report for parking on Engage
And
SSF.
there's also a police non-emergency.
Mhm.
So
So you don't,
Like who
If you-
receives that?
I'm assuming dispatch, but then they would funnel it down to me.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it would be,
I don't get anything specifically from my Engage.
oh, just,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't have.
Maybe they like page it to whoever's on duty or,
If it's I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know.
I'd be curious.
like to be them to get all summed up to you, like at the end of the year, oh, we got 50 complaints at this intersection for parking. Or speeding, or I mean, it's like a lot of data could be used there. Can you find out, Chris, if?
I had a question, and I could be wrong, but I thought we had a downtown bicycle patrol at one time.
So correct, we did. And
Okay.
their focus was for years. In fact, I was one many years ago.
Oh,
The focus was for the downtown merchants and the parking and traffic on Grand Avenue and the surrounding area. And over the years, their mission has changed. They're more of an outreach for homeless and mental health.
wow.
So what we are seeing a lack in enforcement on the Grand Avenue because those two officers are completely in a different realm. But in talking with the chief and hoping to get more officers for the next year's budget there's a focus to get those two officers back on Grand Avenue for traffic enforcement and also have two officers for the outreach and mental health as well. So that is a push to get because
Or could you get another department to send it to, I mean, does it have to be police officers to do the mental health and outreach?
yes,
Oh, darn.
yeah, because they can't be the clinician by themselves. So you guys are aware that we do have a clinician that works at our police department, a
Uh-huh.
mental health clinician.
Oh, that's great.
That also works in the building. And so for her safety, she just can't go out to those calls. So we have to respond. But they do those officers also do a lot of other issues regarding parking with the RVs and RVs being used as residents and that kind of stuff. So they've been completely sidetracked from what it used to be. But we know that we need to get it back there, and that's the chief's goal, is to get more bodies on the street, yeah.
I think that would be a helpful asset to especially enforcement in the downtown area.
Yes. The double parking's really bad,
Yeah.
and so I was at,
There's triple parking.
What is that?
so the only people doing, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, the officers on day shift are not gonna be on Grand Avenue issuing citations anymore, it's changed, it's too busy. So the only ones that do the double parking is, my parking, officers. And so I was recently at another, meeting with Public Works, and we had like 183 in 3 months, double parking citations. But the problem is that my officers can't do the illegal U-turns because they're not police officers, they're just parking enforcement. So we're missing a whole section of
Yeah.
enforcement. So that's why the chief wants to get those bodies back on Grand Avenue.
Well, thank your parking enforcement officers, because it's,
Yeah, I've got them.
you can see triple parking out there.
Oh, it's bad.
So thank them.
So, and unfortunately, it doesn't help is that staffing levels right now are not good. In parking and line officers. So we're trying to hire more people and get those back up, so.
It's on hand, so Anthony, then Dylan.
I don't know how it works. Is it members and then public comment? Yeah.
Okay, members.
I guess this is more a question for Chris, like whether the city has any plans to address congestion on Grand long term. I mean, because I see that situation there, the conflict between cars and each other, cars and pedestrians, all that. I mean, at what point does it make sense to consider getting cars and parking off that road into garages? Like I look at what Southview's done with Castro Street, converting that into a pedestrian promenade, and it's much better, frankly, in my opinion. And I'm just wondering what the city sees as the future, because that congestion is probably just going to get worse as people move into those more dense units downtown.
Right. Acknowledge that, as we densify and have all of these new housing projects that are coming up, there's gonna be more people here and that behavior is gonna get worse. I mean, it's already pretty bad now. Back in 2019, just before my time, there was a Grand Avenue streetscape like project that had envisioned to redefine Grand Avenue, so it's no longer, angled parking. Yeah. That's. We're being recorded, aren't we? That's, normally this is where I would curse, Jim, so.
That's okay, go ahead.
So,
This is on YouTube.
it'll be on YouTube, so I can't say it. No, so that did not go anywhere because then in the topic of how much parking losses would the Grand Avenue corridor endure to go from angled parking to parallel parking. A lot of folks got angry about those numbers. However.
But now they have I'm sorry.
No, exactly. But there was that new development down on Grand, that building that went up and the sidewalk was redone to have parallel parking. So it's one. And then in combination with what we're doing at the other end at the Grandin Airport to include like the first leg of a bike lane. We're trying to force the issue and make it a gap closure effort. However, to convert all those angled parking to parallel parking takes a lot more effort. So I think that's where I
So
think.
turning it into all pedestrians, you're telling us it's not gonna happen.
Well, not until the city then returns back to that conversation on what to do about Grand.
Well, the concern about I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you lose 50% of your parking.
Yeah.
By going parallel rather than diagonal.
But the other concern about closing off Grand altogether is it pushes the traffic onto these other
to the-
streets like Linden and
Mhm.
Spruce, which are
Eden and
small
Miller, yeah.
and can't really handle that amount of traffic.
Yeah, I'd expect there's multiple things to plan around there, but
Yeah.
I think it's probably it looks like it's gonna get worse before it'll get better, probably.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, but it's something that like, that's the thing, it's not, again, it's about momentum, right? We've had that plan. We've done it since 2019 or so. If there's enough pressure, enough of a problem, then we'll go back to that or maybe look at some other alternative to fix that. I think that's where it lies. So again, like the meeting members, like your voices, and you want the city to deal with Grand, tell your council members.
Are there plans to build more parking garages like the one we built on Miller?
There was a study out a couple of years ago during the pandemic, but we have not returned to that project. I mean, to be completely honest, like parking garages are not necessarily,
The use of space.
yeah, exactly.
Tough. I have one more comment. It's related to parking enforcement, and I've been meaning to bring this up at these meetings, but since you're here, sure. What is your like process or policy or I don't know, internal policy for enforcing parking on sidewalks?
If they see it, they're to cite it, and if we get a complaint, we go out and immediately cite it.
Okay, so it's only if you're passing by and you see it, and do you go to specific streets that are known to have parking on sidewalks and?
So, yeah, so on a good day, when I have enough people to cover the 4 beats of the city, I assign each parking official that section. And then in that section is a list in our office of the hot spots. Okay. And so, and those come from complaints from citizens or business owners. And then I have them go do some recon, they do some citation, they go, yeah, there's an issue here. And then it stays on our board for a month or two until we can get it calmed down. So they go to the hot spots, and then when they hit their hot spots, then they will branch out and go to different parts of their beat that they don't regularly need to go to, just to kind of keep an eye.
That's really good, because South City is not as bad as San Francisco
Mhm.
and for parking on sidewalks. But the people do have an incentive to park on sidewalks with some narrow streets. There's rolled curbs in like the Avalon neighborhood or the
Yes.
Burberry neighborhoods.
So traditionally, the way that we would, if you're blocking the sidewalk where somebody in a wheelchair can't get by without having to go down into the street, then that vehicle is gonna get cited. If sometimes you have to kind of park up on the curb a little bit just to give enough space for cars to go by, but somebody can still get by on the
Oh, okay,
sidewalk,
okay.
we won't cite for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What if they're sticking out of their driveway
If
and to
the,
the sidewalk?
if the vehicle is on private property and the trunk or the front end of the car is protruding into the sidewalk where a person in a wheelchair would have to go into the gutter, they would be cited. Yeah, it's kind of we just had that the other day, up on the west side of town, and we told the owner had a Tesla in their driveway and the driveway was too short. And we kept telling him, look, you're gonna get cited. You gotta do something different, and he kept pushing it, and so he got cited, so. And it stopped.
Well, thank you.
It's kind of funny how it works.
Is there any way you could cite any car parked on any part of the sidewalk? Like sidewalks are generally pretty narrow, and if a car is even partially parked on it, someone has to walk around it.
What are you talking about? They'd have to leave the sidewalk?
I mean, most of the sidewalks are pretty narrow, so if like someone is partially parked on a rolled curb,
We won't cite.
you won't cite. As long as a wheelchair can fit.
Yeah, because that's all that's required.
Oh, really?
Yep. ADA, so is that somebody can, because if I'm not in a wheelchair, I can pass with my stroller. If I'm in a wheelchair and I can pass, then because the reality is that when this, especially Old Town was built, it wasn't built for people to own 3-4 cars. And so the streets cannot handle that, what's here today.
Okay,
So-
so it's kind of the compromise and.
Homeowners would be in a rage and we'd be pounding down city council's doors if they were getting tickets because they had to park up on the curb a little bit to make sure their car wasn't sideswiped. So there's a compromise there. So if somebody can safely get by the sidewalk, then yeah, we're not gonna cite vehicles that are parking up on the curb, yeah. That's not gonna happen.
As long as people can pass.
Yeah, I think I just wanna lay down that that's a political decision, because the California Vehicle Code does state like parking any part of the sidewalk is prohibited.
Mhm.
So it's a political decision.
But it's also, so what we go by as the spirit of the law, the letter of the law.
Okay,
And the letter of the law is exactly what you just said. But the spirit of law is taking in all the circumstances and the totality of the situation and applying the best needs, because I can, being here for 26 years and growing up in South City, is that this has been historically what people have done. Give you another example. In South City, you can park on the other side of the street facing the wrong direction.
I hate that.
That's been a historical
Oh,
thing that
never-
the department has never cited anybody.
We would,
But
you
it
could
technically
start
it's
though.
illegal.
You could start though, because it's dangerous. as-
Yeah. We won't.
I grew up in Daly City.
It's not, and I want.
Grew up in Daly City, and when I first moved here, I thought I would
It's not my
die.
decision. This is just historically what,
So what would it take for you guys to start enforcing that?
and sidewalks.
I'll tell you what, I'll ask the chief that, but that's
Because when
not.
I first moved here, I thought I would die for it, because I wasn't expecting people to come from the wrong
Now,
side
if
of the
we're
road.
driving down the street in our patrol car and we see somebody coming and they drive in the wrong direction, they're gonna get stopped.
Thank you.
Yes, but as we're going down the street and we see a car parked on the wrong side of the street, we're not gonna issue a citation.
I'd love.
But when the
that to
chief
change.
says, hey, Portolan, we are changing the historical outlook here, go ahead and cite people. then I'll start doing that, but that's not a decision that I can make.
So just gotta write him or email him.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I'll let him know. When I go back tomorrow, I'll let him know and
big adjustment. Now, after 11 years, I'm like on guard no matter where I'm driving for someone to come from either side at me, but it was hard.
so I have a question for you. So the residents who have been parking that way, now tomorrow they get a ticket. And they say, well, I've lived here for 20 some years and I never got a ticket.
Same as the daylight.
Right.
Off.
Huh?
Well, I tell them, I mean, too bad. I have
It's
no sympathy.
Same as. the
Only
daylight.
been here 11 years, sorry.
No, I'm just using it as an example, is that it's not an easy fix.
Yeah.
It's not something
But
you
they're-
can just change
They're
on a
bringing
dime.
them up.
Yeah, that's how I feel about parking on sidewalks. There's pedestrians have no space. And if a car is even blocking half the sidewalk and I have to squeeze between it, it just.
Well, that's different.
That's different.
Because if that's the case, if you have to squeeze, they're blocking half the sidewalk and you have to
Yeah.
squeeze through, that means a wheelchair can't get through.
Yeah,
That's a citable offense.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah. And we do issue citations for blocking the sidewalk regularly.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a rare thing.
okay.
Yeah. And we will go in residential area, one of the biggest problems is the 700 block of Spruce. And if you go in that street, that's where it's kind of like a split level street and it's very narrow.
Mhm.
And people have to park on the sidewalk, otherwise the cars wouldn't get through. So that has been an issue going on for years with the TAC, trying to figure out what's the best way to handle this thing. We just had another meeting about it. And maybe painting red curb or something, you're aware of all that stuff?
no,
Yeah,
one of the solutions was to basically on one side flag it, say no parking on this side.
yeah,
And.
Which side do you choose?
Right, exactly. Well, that decision did not last that long,
Yeah.
right?
What we did on West Orange Avenue used to be an awful problem with wheelchairs trying to get through to the library.
yeah.
And the buses try, it's also a bus route, but the people parking on both sides of the street. The buses get through, but nobody else would fit through. So the solution was make it a one-way street.
And it works.
And that
You do
worked.
that with Spruce?
The Spruce is awkward because it's
awkward.
split lanes.
Yeah,
Yeah, how would you?
That's not.
sorry,
It wouldn't work with
Yeah.
Spruce.
but West Orange is so much better now. But I went to junior high school in that neighborhood at Southwood. It was terrible with the parking on the sidewalks.
But put it in there, we also do that in Village Way, my street. It's Village Way, so it's one way going around. It used to be two-way. Donkeys usually
You still live on Village Way?
can't afford to move.
So, and I'm not, sorry, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
We're
I'm
not
just.
trying to pick on you.
Oh, no, I don't say that. Because your opinions and your perspectives are valid. I'm not the person who's gonna be able to say, okay, yeah, I can just cite, that's,
You're not in charge of everything?
no, yeah. So, but I will tomorrow when I meet with the chief, I will bring up the points that came up in the meeting
Mhm.
and let him know that this was discussed and this was, kind of a wish list or something to push on and then wait for him to tell me yay or nay. But if you have it, do you live in South City?
Of course.
Okay.
They all-
Do you go to? Oh, okay, I wasn't sure, okay. Where do you live?
Westboro.
Westboro, okay. But if you see something that you think is too narrow, call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the problem's not in Westboro, it's the other part of the city.
Okay.
Westboro's pretty,
Yeah,
And
Westboro's a nice wide street, so people don't feel inclined to park on the sidewalk.
so like, not to gaslight BPAC here, but in these conversations on what to do, the parking on the sidewalks and in like road curbs, we also, I think maybe even through TAC, like we heard from like the fire department and said, actually, for road curbs, that's an emergency
right.
access, and
That's
you're
right.
actually not supposed to park at all.
Oh.
Yeah, road curbs are meant to provide emergency vehicles enough room so that they can pass through unimpeded in a narrow street.
So no
So there
one's
was,
supposed to
there's
park
not
on
really
any
supposed to
of
be
this?
anyone parking
Holy
there.
cow.
But then, the fire chief then said like, well, you go tell the residents they can't do that, all
Yeah.
1,900 or like 900 of them with their 1,500 cars. So there's these.
From my point of view, it was always cheaper to build monolithic rather than building the curb and gutter.
Right,
And then come in later to do the sidewalk, which is the proper way.
Yeah.
But that monolithic just They do one pass and you're done.
one pass on a road curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that we also have to like,
What we used to do, that was back in the forties and fifties, and then they stopped. So you have Brentwood and my area and some other areas in that way, but we don't do it anymore.
so it's an issue, we know, we have a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of stages to get that enforced and get that solved, so. Point is like, it's a lot of cars per household in the city, so acknowledging Anthony. for the comment.
Oh, thank you. for your answer.
Train, I just wanted to, thank Sarge and Jim.
Thank you.
Because I don't want to call you for Coleman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is that a right? No, Jim's fine.
Thanks, Jim. This is really thorough, really great. I wanted to just make a comment about the vehicle versus bike collision on El Camino Real and Hickey. And just want to
Which date was that?
10/10/23. And I want just clarity on the bicyclist was on the sidewalk, saw that the vehicle was going out of the driveway onto El Camino Real, and then the bicyclist tried to go beat him to the street.
Yeah.
And then hit the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, to get that clarification, it's good. I just wanted to say like, that's another infrastructure issue that we have, because anyone ridden on El Camino Real will spike me. So sometimes being on the sidewalk is the safer thing to do, albeit maybe they stop, let the car go through rather than try to beat it to the street and back onto the bike lane. So still.
It'd also be traveling on the right side of the road.
Yeah,
It was going south on the northbound lanes.
so they were on the sidewalk or they were on the
They
sidewalk?
were on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
But on the other
They were on the north side of
Yeah.
the
northbound,
northbound lane.
Yeah.
On that side, going southbound
Ah.
sidewalk.
yeah. Well, you can't ride on the sidewalk.
Sidewalk
anyways.
anyway, right.
Exactly, right.
So it's-
But that's even more dangerous to go against because drivers are looking to the left, right?
Yeah.
Not looking to the right for bicyclists.
Yeah.
So El Camino Real, I see El Camino Real a lot here. I see Grand Avenue a lot here. And Sergeant Jim, I think you could save, the headache of trying to find funding to, have patrol officers here on Grand Avenue if we had parallel parking rather than the diagonal parking that we have now. So with that, I gotta catch my train. Thank you so much. guys.
Okay.
Save
Thank you. And before I forget, can I add one more thing? One of the things we're doing for pedestrian enforcement is now that I'm getting my motor officers back, my hope is that at least one time per quarter is we're gonna actually have a pedestrian enforcement activity. And one of the places is Hickey at Costco. That's a big one. Grand at Spruce is another one, and then downtown near Grand and Airport. So my hopes now is I've got my personnel back is that my motor officers will be attacking those places. And then as I get those stats, then I can bring them to the next
You say
meeting.
pedestrian enforcement, pedestrians crossing against the light?
It's for both. It's for vehicles not yielding pedestrians. It's pedestrians not, it's the whole, package, yeah.
Can you get the highway patrol to help you on El Camino?
No,
Because it's a highway.
yeah, no. No, that's our jurisdiction.
Darn.
Yeah.
But it's crazy at that intersection with the Costco shoppers come straight out of that. exit
Yeah.
and try.
I personally go to the one in South Airport because I'm not gonna go on the one in El Camino. It's horrible.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. All right,
last
so
thoughts on that.
thank you for the great report and the great
Oh, you're
work you're doing. We
I hope I
do
didn't. talk to
appreciate
you. Sorry.
it.
Did you say great report?
Great report.
We don't about it for about an hour. It's a long report now.
Sorry, I should have brought donuts. Sorry.
Oh. Okay,
But thank you, Jim, for
Thank you
joining
so
us
much,
and helping us with this. Appreciate it. All right.
okay, are we ready for the letters of support
Yep,
from
and
last year?
yes, so we went out for 2 grants late in the year. One was for the bike lane upgrades on the project we're pursuing for Junipero Serra. To convert it to class 4 instead of the existing class 2s. That's an ongoing project, and that was for the TDA Transportation Development Act Article 3 grants. The second one was also for. The other one was also for a TDA grant, Article 3, for a pedestrian and bicycle program to provide partial funding for the San Mateo County bicycle education program. So we lent our support to that. And that's what would fund the, sorry, like I'm blanking on it, like the Safe Routes to School programs that we frequently partner with, the Every Kid Deserves a Bike program. It's also run out of that. So it's just being a good partner agency and lend our support as they go for more funding for those programs. And then we have this year in the next few months, we will have for the County Transportation Authority, there will be a cycle 7 of their pedestrian and bicycle like grant funds available. So we're cooking up projects, making sure that there's something that we can do and apply for those grant fundings in the next few months. So there's more coming.
Did we get any of the grants or?
We don't know yet. Yeah, well, we'll provide BPAC with an update in case whenever we get awarded. These are kind of like we're very confident in these. So like I'll double check on when
So we'll get to give out bikes and helmets again.
I believe so. Yeah.
It's one. Okay, does anyone have any questions or? Okay,
Okay, moving on.
right, do you guys, what are your thoughts about voting for a new
I think you
leader?
should put it off the next month.
Put it off to next month.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't.
So
Did you have to run another meeting?
yeah, so BPAC members, I'll give you this. We can do it the democratic way, which is we'll wait until the next time and make sure that a committee member, Philip Hollenbeck, is with us to make that full
Who's
decision.
gonna vote against doing something the democratic way?
Exactly. Or we could keep the good times rolling and just keep Marion as our chair and not have to, our reorg.
Not to train another person?
Yeah, exactly.
You're still training me, Frank, what do you mean?
I believe we should vote on it.
Yeah,
So,
we can wait until the next time and.
we can wait till later and make it official and do it official.
Okay,
Will everyone be available in March?
There's the other question.
That's a good question. We'd be at the same part, so it's the same.
I'm not sure. My dog has cancer. I'm taking her to UC Davis for radiation treatment on the 4th. So I should be here that Wednesday, but I may not.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Would be,
Would you be okay with BPAC
yeah, it would be March.
voting without you on
I
that?
should
Yes,
be.
sir.
I've been vice chair for a year, and
Yeah.
I don't know what my responsibilities are. What are my responsibilities and privileges or what are the responsibilities and privileges as a chair or vice chair?
It boils down to a few things. One, you have to help me run the meeting. So you take.
Beside that,
If
Yeah,
I don't
besides that,
come, you
yeah.
have to help run it. You have to, yeah.
And obviously, like you're it if Chair Guzman isn't around. You, just like all of the grants, letters of
right.
support for grants, that's really the biggest responsibility of the chair and vice chair. Is that, these applications come together so fairly quickly. The intent is to make sure that the BPAC is aware of the grants we're going after, but that signature needs to come like immediately. Like, that's why we harangued Chair Guzman even on a Friday afternoon saying like, did you sign it yet? Can you please get this done? Like, so that's really the main responsibilities, help us like get these grant applications in with BPAC support, then we'll discuss it and make sure that we're all in agreement, or at least you're aware of what the city is engaging in terms of like grant applications.
And thankfully, I've never had to tell them, no, I don't agree, because I read them all. Mhm.
can the chair put things on the agenda?
There's already an item for, items from BPAC members.
Yeah, but anyone can put an item on the agenda, right? So, it's something that we carve out at as part of the meeting as items for BPAC members that we do want to discuss or agendize in the next meeting. That's for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it, yeah.
Have
Be
we-
there for photo ops when we need you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but
Give out-
but apparently, I've been interfacing with our city attorney, but no more than 3. Or no more, as long as we don't make quorum. So for example,
Wait, really?
yeah, so
So
for.
no more than 3 of us at an
Mhm.
event at a time.
Yeah, so like if we're at full force at how many? 7?
Yeah.
Then no more than 3, because otherwise we'd have a quorum and it'd be a meeting of the BPAC unofficially that we didn't notice, you know? Yeah, so it's a weird rule. So like if there's an event, like, you know, and the 3 of you, like you could everybody could still be there, but as long as you don't huddle up together and say, I'm with BPAC.
Yeah,
then
because
it-
we can go to something else.
Yeah, you can totally go to something else, but as soon as Frank says, I'm the BPAC committee member, and then that's a meeting right away and we failed our duty.
Well, we could best at the Seas Candy when we're having. a meeting.
Yeah,
I was there.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, but at that time we were full force, so we didn't have quorum, right, so,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was okay.
What's quorum for a committee with 6 people?
It'd be 3.
Oh, really?
We all go and work on one of those bike giveaways. No,
It's there for another event, and I think that's okay, yeah, I
Okay.
think that's, yeah. But it's more like, if 3 of you right now head to, like, if there's a city council meeting and say, hey, we're BPAC, we're here too, then that's a violation of the Brown Act.
Okay.
Yeah, but as citizens, you're free to do.
unless we take Kelsey and she takes minutes.
Yeah, exactly, you have to take Kelsey, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
we'll try to do something fun then, okay? All right, I'm sorry, we're getting.
We'll have our meeting down in Cafe 382.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's a great.
All right, so we'll push the reorg to March.
Okay, any items from BPAC members?
I had a request.
Yes.
As I said, I've seen, it appears at least, that we've been doing a lot of new bike lanes.
Yes.
High visibility, and it would just be great to have a report here of, you know, what we've done in the last year or 2, or as far back as you like to go.
Yeah.
That, you know, highlights the activities that have been happening and where they're located.
Yep, I heard you the previous time when you brought that up, and so thank you for keeping that as an action item until I can get that on the agenda. Working with our engineering group to look at our capital improvement program, because they have the master list of all of the things we've done in terms of bike lanes, all the infrastructure stuff. And like, if I had the information, obviously I'll push it out to you, but I need to work through them, so. They're aware that they need to do that, so I've asked them to, you know, give us a kind of like a look back of like the bike and active transportation infrastructure we've done, we've pursued, and what we're about to do. So we can share that with you. I know committee member Angie also asked for, like, where are we in terms of like you know, like those types of projects and how, and I think you also brought up where are we in terms of like the active South City like
Right.
plan? Yeah, so we're working on getting you that kind of snapshot, you know.
So do you
previous year.
tie all that work back to like Jim's 25% reduction in accidents?
Well, so.
I mean, is it?
Here's the hilarious part. Every intersection that the sergeant has like showed us, and even then Lieutenant Pinnell has shared with us, they're all intersections that are on our high injury network. We're seeing events happen at these intersections, and we're aware of it. Yeah, so it ties it. that's basically just proof that we need to do something about those intersections. And yeah, and it's on our like giant list of things
Yes.
to pursue. Yeah.
So as you get them done, do you like, oh, look, now there's 25% lax accidents? Do you ever tie it together or?
We're not quite there yet. Yeah.
Oh, so
Because we
not,
haven't-
you haven't completed
We
enough?
haven't completed a lot of them either.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So just because the nature of like these infrastructure projects, like a lot of for example, a lot of the new bike lanes, class 2, anything paint or paint post, like dots on the road, usually gets folded into other public works infrastructure projects, like if they're gonna repave and re-asphalt those roads, then if the plan is class 2 bike lanes or whatnot, pedestrian safety measures, then that goes in when the paving goes in, so we only have to dig once. So.
But then you've lost track of that item, kind
I
of.
don't
right?
know, it's still, but like they'll still have to refer to like, well, what does our plan say for this like street or this like neighborhood, for example? So we still keep looking back. It's just now that we are in a space where we actually have to pay more attention because a lot of these projects are gonna have a lot more grant funding instead of like, oh, it's money from like taxes and things like that. So we have to, we can get to these projects a little bit faster.
That's
know.
great.
And not to drag the meeting out any longer, but thinking again about El Camino and with the bike lanes that we took out,
Yes.
those bike ramps for the bus stops.
Yes.
I imagine they're probably over in Public Works, getting dirty.
Oh, no, actually, they were delivered to Samtrans. They paid for them. Yeah, interesting concept, and they actually wanted us to like, hey, can we showcase those, what we did at El Camino? They wanted to like maybe showcase them in the downtown, but knowing that we're gonna have a paving project out here in the spring, it didn't make sense to kind of like pilot out, and especially we didn't have bike lanes. So Samtrans and the County Transportation Authority actually picked up the tab for the platforms, yeah.
I was just thinking of the Hickey Boulevard might be a good one to put them in, where I have bus stops and no parking.
Right, yeah, I agree. We can approach that with them because they wanted to keep the momentum and.
So what are you thinking?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I heard you were mentioning about them taking it out. Why did they take it out?
Oh, so it was only a demonstration project. We got
10
a
weeks.
6, how many weeks did we have?
I thought it was 10 weeks.
So it was a 10-week demonstration project. We had an encroachment permit that I got through the process with Caltrans. But they didn't say how long it would end, so we went past our 10 weeks. It stayed there until December from like July. But it was ultimately a demonstration project. It was never meant to stay in
It was
place.
hoped to
So it's just, is it just something that, oh, look, this could be done? But is there really any plans of doing it in the future long term or?
There is, it depends on a few things, because the thing that I've always asked folks is that like, okay, we can put bike lanes on El Camino. We've shown that we can, but what happens in San Bruno or Colma? So it's the connectivity to those other, cities and towns, or to our resources, like the BART station, for example. Or a significant connection to the Centennial Trail, for example, was something that we needed. Like it was there to show everybody that it can be done. And then helps us inform, well, actually, we need these connections from El Camino to the trail so that people can go on, further. So it was a temporary demonstration project. That's why we had to take it out. And we had an unending like stream of calls from the businesses that hated them.
The real reason.
They hated the bike or
They hated all of it.
They hated
it. They hated that they lost
the
their free
bus
parking.
stop.
The bus, that all the transit users loved that there was extra space. Like the 1 or 2 bicyclists that like provided comments, said like, hey, this was actually pretty cool, but it was a little unclear that it was for bikes too. So, it highlighted things that we needed to do better.
So the businesses hated even the bus stop thing? Holy cow.
Yeah. The only folks that liked it was Seats Candy.
They were so nice.
They were so nice, yeah. So, yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping this moving.
I have 3 comments. As you know, I'm all following the widening freeway of 101 just around the corner. That way. That way. Caltrans says that the environmental impact report is scheduled to come out in the spring, so that could be as early as next month. So that is the time. As if you as an individual want to comment, I don't think BPAC has the ability to comment, but if you as an individual want to comment, please do. The next one is City Council recently approved an application for the shoreline. Or for, I think it's a planning grant for the shoreline protection and connectivity project. I was wondering if we could get like a staff person to come talk about that project. I know it's kind of like more preliminary, but I'd love to learn like what's on the table, like what's being considered so that we can have some early input on the scope of that project.
When they like our advice, we're here to advise them.
I would like to give them advice, but yeah, so for background, that project is on North Access Road, connecting North Access Road to the Eastern 101 area, and I think that there's a lot of consequences to bike and ped for that project. And then the last one is recently I had a good conversation with the member of the Traffic Safety Commission, and I learned that there's another like commission that kind of reviews transportation projects. I think there's a lot of overlap. So if there's any opportunity like for BPAC to be involved, whether staff bring those projects to BPAC 2 or even potentially like an overlap, a joint meeting or something, if that's even possible, I'd love to like either coordinate with the Traffic Safety Commission or something so that they're not like two separate commissions. And I think you used to chair it, so you're probably very familiar, or not chair, it'd be a secretary.
Is there a lot of overlap? Or?
They deal with the complaints from TAC. Like the ones that staff looks at. I think that's, yeah, like when we staffed it, it was more focused on like those monthly complaints from residents, you know, things that like, oh, we need to put this intersection or this segment of the roadway on the police's care program, things like that. So that used to be their purview, or not used to be their purview, but that's used to be the monthly items that were brought to them. So is that something that you're interested in? Because it also didn't necessarily, it was never focused on bicycles and pedestrians.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like, I don't have parking here.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I'm very curious. I'd love like BPAC is an advisory committee, the Traffic Safety Commission's a commission, so they get to make decisions, is my understanding. So I think there's some overlap where we can like better work together. My big vision would be like, it just be the same.
Oh, yeah.
Body.
I agree. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that there's 3 transportation advisory or commissions, including the Parking Place Commission. They're all related.
Sing into the choir. Because we basically had 3 different commissions we had to staff.
Yeah.
Like they're all overlap on certain things.
I would say they're interchangeable at some points.
Yeah. However, just depending on who you speak with, any other commissions, like it's in one of those commissions that said the previous member of it said, I hate bikes. And any projects that deal with those things. So just be aware of like, you know, like you here as a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee, like you have, you know, you like these things, you want these things.
We want people to be able to do it safely.
Yeah, you want to provide access for other folks to engage in that. And in my experience personally, they were never receptive to like anything active transportation wise. So maybe things have changed. We haven't been manning it for some time now, so
Yeah.
we'll look for like joint activities with them.
Yeah,
agreed. Okay. Other comments?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, we have to do items from staff. I'm sorry, sir.
I thought we were done. Items from staff.
Item from staff, all right, I'll be quick. So the only thing, a couple of things I wanted to discuss with BPAC is just a reminder, and we'll do this again at the reorg. That what allowed us to meet virtually, because I think we had this question come up, whether like a BPAC member that was sick can just like zoom in. It's still not allowed for any committees or commissions like in California, because there hasn't been any modifications to, I think, AB 2449. So that executive order by the governor still is not in effect. So we all have to meet here. So if you're sick, don't show up. There's no alternative. You'll just take an absence on that day. And then, second, I think we covered this already, is that, like, again, you as an individuals can make any comment on any project that the city engages in. But we do ask you and do recommend that you don't say BPAC when you make your comments, or, just because that, if that, it signals to, like as a public comment that the BPAC has heard that item, and therefore that is the official position. So we want to make sure that if there is an official position on a specific thing, we have to agendize it, we have to talk about it, we have to, commit to that opinion or that direction. And again, we have to then filter it through the lens of, is it even in BPAC's like purview? So just be aware, like, nobody's stopping you from making comments on any project as an individual. That is your opinion as an individual. Okay.
What's the difference? I think this is directed to me because I gave a comment instead of it was from BPAC. What's the difference between a city council member saying I'm on city council, but speaking as themselves as opposed to like the entire city council? Because city council members do say, oh, I'm city council member so-and-so. Hello, everybody. This is my opinion.
It's the distinction that you also said. It's like I am on the city council, however, I am speaking as an individual. It's that, like,
Okay.
That's the difference. But when you say Frank McCauley, BPAC member, I don't like what you're doing, Jim. Is that BPAC's opinion? Right? Yeah. So I think that there's the line a little bit. So, but no, we'll check in again with our city attorney and get.
And is this limited to public meetings or public hearings, or is anywhere?
It's pretty much anywhere. Yeah, just because like, it's again, like the events, if like there's enough of you in a quorum and then one of you says BPAC, weirdly enough, that's a Brown Act violation because again, it's like a meeting,
So we won't say BPAC.
Yeah, no, it's a bit like, oh, hello, fellow resident that I see here today.
I'll just ignore her next time.
Or ignore her next time. Okay, so yeah, so those are staff announcements or staff items. And I think that might. Last one is that Samtrans reached out. They do have an upcoming public outreach phase for their regional transit connections plan. And they've asked to be put on the agenda for the March meeting.
Okay, great.
So we'll have them come by and discuss what they're cooking up on that side. April meeting will likely be canceled because it's my birthday on that day and I don't want to be here. So,
You don't want to celebrate with us?
oh no, I'll be in
You haven't heard me sing happy birthday yet.
You all could have the meeting, just record it, I'll watch it on YouTube.
Well, happy birthday.
Oh, that would violate the governor's order.
Yeah, but if there are items that need to go to BPAC in April, we'll find someone to quarterback it for you. So, okay. All right, that's it for staff items.
Okay, now go for it, Frank.
Oh, no, now I'm shy. I'm not gonna do that again.
Oh, my God. Okay, I'll do it. I move we
You
adjourn.
can't.
I can.
I'll move that we adjourn the meeting.
And I'll do the second.
Thank you all. See, you're still training.
All right, we're adjourned at 7:14. Thank you all. We'll see you the next one.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining
I'm
us.
sorry I didn't bring my business cards, but that's my work email address and my work number. Should I pass that down? So if you have concerns, questions,
Thanks, Jay.
call